Don't be looking at me. I have no story to tell. No apocalyptic vision, no morns burning, no dry well. I tell you what, though. I'll tell you the story of Maggie Murtagh and her magnificent road to hell. The Vigilante Cannibal Nun, Maggie Murtagh, was a Mad Folk Famine Warrior, and in mid-19th century Ireland she found herself and found a monster. She stole from the rich to give to the starving poor. She ate her victims, destroyed her soul, became an addict and transmogrified into a sewer. Shamed she was, and ashamed I am to tell a story like hers. But I'll do the dirty work, because for my life, I no longer cares. Let's start with Maggie's da. A school teacher, not knowing and yet knowing that famine is around the corner, tears his hair out on a daily basis and laments Irish history, which seems to fuck up in all the wrong and in all the right places. Yet he's all he asked for. A big house, a vocation, a wife, lots of daughters, and status. A head full of insurrection and guilt for the money he was making, not non gratis. Maggie's da, idealistic to the point of insanity, fanatically longs for an Ireland, independent, fully Gaelic, a beautiful, big boy, world reality that's free yet. Even with famine looming around the corner, he looks at Maggie and he's disappointed. As a reflection of his handsome self. She's not what he wanted. Let's get her married off and out of her hair to anyone who will take her. I mean, look at her. Would you care, sir? The middle daughter in a clan of middle daughters. At 16, Maggie's fat, miserable, good, and to an old widower, betrothed. She accepts her future marriage in silence until one day, in her wrath, she will explode. But why is she the only one of her sisters with a problem? Why is she so irate? Why is she the only one who wants to take control of her own fate? Maybe it's the fat, the short legs, the short straw, or thinking that she is the runt. Or maybe it's her spinster aunt. Enter another character, Maggie's aunt, a total C-word. Maggie couldn't remember a time when it didn't happen, the abuse, the bullying, the touching and the slapping, and it always happened when her aunt came to stay, put into bed beside her. Here we go, another stereotype, the currency of a cliché, on the brink and on it went for years. Unspoken, unknowable, unthinkable, kissing, forcing, entering, hitting, pleasuring, masturbating, denying, creating, self-induced, doublethink. Well, double-think your way out of this one, Maggie. The week before your marriage, a girl of 14 from the parish to a hole in the hills was banished for being a harlot, a slut, a strumpet, and a spider woman. She was abandoned in a hovel to manage on her own. She was pregnant, and being a child herself, she was deprived and ended up dead in a week. Shut up. This put the idea into Maggie's head that to get out of her marriage, she just had to pretend to be a slut. The day before the wedding, the sisters gather flowers and decorate the house, prepare the child a Prague, whatever that is, hang a horseshoe and pick a fat goose. Maggie hunts down Michael, the son of her fiancé, on the road that day. She asks him, "Are ye like a secret shy by, hey?" She touches him inappropriately. He shags her, then runs away. Maggie walks home and thinks, that'll spread like wildfire. I just need to let the rest unravel to get me out of here. But a strange smell comes from the fields all around her. Maggie sees a farmer with his head in his hands, crying like no other. His crops failed. Famine is what the future has in store. Ding dong. She sees to her left and to her right that every farmer is screaming the same song. Blight. Blighted. Like Maggie, caged, she can't breathe, and the horror is replicated in her head like a rage. The madness bleeds like a wound implanted, all her actions unsovereign, contaminated with the violence of what her aunt did. She collapses into a ditch by the side of the road and lies there for hours through the night out cold and wakes to see the blue of the morning sky and thinks, it's my wedding day. I don't have to pretend to be a slut. I'll just walk away. Maggie enters the house and announces, I'm going to become a nun, far, far away from here. I'm heading off to the missions. That's my future. Let me be clear. Her father kicks her out and says, you haven't been behaving yourself. He throws money at her. To hell with you. Don't come back or anywhere near this house. Maggie turns and looks at her father and for a moment longs for him to love her. Her aunt whispers in his ear, polluting her reputation further. Her little sisters cry. Her mother grieves. Maggie turns, picks up the money, and leaves. Maggie signs up for the missions in China, and off she goes to become Sister Angelica. But the truth is that what she finds is purpose, and she no longer feels worthless. She loses all the stress and bloating. She becomes weightless, her face beautiful, and she forgets all the aloning. For 3 years she neither reads nor writes a single letter. She reads no papers and hopes that at home they have forgotten her. The sun shines all day until it doesn't. A famine, like an atom bomb, explodes far, far away until the fallout warrants a conversation initiated by the Mother Superior. Have you not heard of the famine in Ireland? We're going to send you back there. On arrival at Dublin port, Maggie thinks, I'm not going home. She spends the next year deep in Connemara, building a new convent, feeding the starving, dying, and alone. As conditions worsen, she loses her empathy. The rain pours, her heart hardens, and she feels trapped in the drudgery. She thinks, I think it is time to return to see my family. And off she goes, expecting to find comparative luxury. Maggie stands at her home and looks down at the burnt-out remains overgrown with grass and weeds and shame. She looks at the remaining signs of the family she once left, and she curses the day. Now that she is truly lumbered and bereft, confused, she takes off her veil and wanders in any old direction. As night falls, she comes upon singing of a religious inclination, but the hymns are different from the Latin she learnt at school, part of an exchange of allegiance offering Protestantism for food. Maggie enters the soup kitchen, and with the smell she feels ill. She wonders if this life ever had any sort of a thrill. As she turns to leave, she sees a head turn away from her and sees her aunt amongst the converts, living, eating, but certainly not praying for her. Maggie calls her out. What happened to my family? They all starved, says her aunt, except for you, and except for me. But how can that be? My father, your brother, was an educated man, the local teacher with money to bring up his own clan. Her aunt laughs. He was led by his emotions and his mind gone awry. He might as well have killed them all as he locked them in to die. Then the landlord's crowbar gang on horseback came, scarves over faces, screaming wildly. They set the house aflame. What did you do to save them? Why didn't you talk to him and set his mind free? Don't you think you can point the finger at me? What did you do, Maggie, to protect your family? Off to China with your pretend calling, not thinking for a minute about your mother and how her heart was breaking, not replying to a single letter to your family, no loyalty. You might as well have locked the door on them yourself for your selfish need to be free. Maggie walks away and walks 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 back to the convent. Maggie goes on hunger strike to plead for the church to do more. For those dying of hunger, for the sin of being Irish, and for the sin of being poor. But one way or another, the church takes its time. As Maggie's life slips away, she swoons and pines for the body and blood of the dude she calls Lord. A priest carries her to the chapel and she loses her consciousness and dreams of the naked Lord's body caressing her in all of its I am so turned onness. But her hunger pangs pummel her head like a dart, and with her teeth she goes straight for his heart and for the flesh of God, our almighty victim, only to come around and see that she has killed him. The priest lies dead and half-eaten on the floor whilst Maggie, like an animal, surveys her prey. And once more, blood, flesh, all over her hands, face and mouth. Now, she knows what she is about. A nun, faith gone, slays the perpetrators of what they call divine providence. To the body and blood of Jesus, she says, I will have none of this. Oh, I'll eat the body and blood, but not of and for the victim. I'll eat the clergy, and I'll eat the English gentry, because we are sick of 'em. I'll eat the nobility and give the swags to the poor. I'll pay the price and wear the spoils of my war. And like a phoenix rising high, the cannibal nun was born, begorra. Maggie ran off into the hills and forgot about being forlorn Macara and taunted her fate and stalked the land saying, I'm the cannibal nun, hey, doing what needs to be done, hey. Let the rampage begin. Hi.